Hey,
Hello.
Clare.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. People who are only listening will not see that we've we've come in very similar colours today. I've got a little uniform thing going on. But if you manages to watch this on YouTube, we'll see that we're colour coordinated today. I love that.
Right?
I'm
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
fun.
I'm good. I am in the forest in Aberdeen. That is where I am today.
Ah,
Yeah, it's
in
lovely here.
Trevor.
Very,
How
very
lovely.
quiet here, actually. Normally we're on the
Mm.
seafront in Aberdeen, but we've ended up here, and it's lovely. It's just there's hardly been anybody here all day. It's very nice, very peaceful. So I have a
Lovely.
word for you, my dear,
I am ready for your word.
and the word is compassion.
Mm. Yeah. Compassion. I see it as part of our natural state. And the only time well, what is it really? What I was going to say is that the only time that we're not sort of offering that up in our energy is when we're making judgments or comparisons or complaints or something, some kind of judgments about another or a situation. Yeah, I really see compassion as just something that when you really understand how we work in life, how the mind works, how we are all one, coming from this same energy, and we have this human component to us. We are mostly, we are all energy. We are nothing but, there is nothing but we have this human component that you know has preferences and makes judgments and contrasts. And when we get caught in that and we make that really mean something, we're we're slipping off of who we really are, which part of that is compassion. It's really just like a deep form of understanding and acceptance, and like a benevolence. Yeah. Hmm. I'll just share this little story, and then I'd love to hear how you see this. Sergio, our dog, our German Shepherd, he is he is aging. He is, you know, I have thinking about it and compassion. And because I see that his spirit, he's still playful. He still wants
Hmm.
to chase his tail, but like his right leg, it's almost like he doesn't have as much feeling in it. So he's like that dog on Toy Story with the um, wire, stretchy wire.
Mm.
When he goes around a corner, his back end just sort of keeps going, keeps spinning. And Sergio is kind of like that. So he'll go kind of quick, and then so he might bump into things, and sometimes goes down. Yet he keeps adapting. So I have some compassion, and we have some friends who are going to be coming to look after him in a couple weeks. They're coming over tomorrow night to, you know, get to know him in a care. They know him already, but it's like, wow, I'm having this because I'm wondering how they will feel. Will they understand, or will they feel compassion and or will there be judgment? Will there be, anyway, I don't know why those two kind of muddled up together, but I feel compassion for Serge. And yeah, anyways, it might have been two things that were sort of bypassed, and it was a very tiny thing. I would love to hear what you see about compassion, because I think I'll see more. Yeah.
I think I've been on a 3-part journey with compassion over the last few years. So the first part of the journey was a complete lack of it. Like when I was in Clare's right and everybody else does life wrong phase of my life, which lasted for probably many more years than the more recent. There was none. I definitely thought that people chose to be idiots, quite frankly. I mean, I do not put too fine a point on it, because how could they do these ridiculous things and not know any better? It was so, I mean, it was just so awful. And I guess I felt awful about other people. I also was extremely lacking in compassion for myself. It wasn't just other people. I thought I was an idiot as well, when I made decisions that were not good, or did things that I viewed later on as not being right. I definitely all of it came from this sense of that individuals are separate, choosing individuals who should know better than what they're doing. And it would have me most of the time in a full-on rant about things. I did a lot of ranting, sometimes internally, but very much of the time externally. Oh my God, why did I? Just like horrible. There was a lot of it, an awful lot of it. And then I think through the principles, I guess the line that kind of comes from that compassion conversation, the principles, is generally something around everybody's doing the best they can with the thinking that looks true to them. And so compassion then becomes better, but not, still a bit icky when I look at it now, where it's sort of, oh yes, bless them and their rubbishy thinking, but bless them. They can't help it. They've just got rubbish thinking, and so I still could maintain Clare's hierarchy in this scheme of things, where Clare was still, clearly had better thinking than other people, but I could feel kind of, love for them despite their rubbish thinking, and they can't help it, sort of the they can't help it kind of compassion, which was which was better. It felt nicer, probably, but I still think it was very much grounded in separation. They've got their thinking, I've got my thinking, and my thinking, if they're doing a thing I don't like, my thinking is definitely better than theirs. They must have dodgy thinking to be doing those things. That was fundamentally it. And then more recently, with the non-duality conversation is very different in terms of compassion to three principles. There's a real divide between them. And I think the divide is around separation. So, like you were saying, really, there isn't a me and a them. There isn't a them doing a thing wrong and a me, high and mighty, different. That we're all actually one. We're all the same. And recently and I will credit Clare Diamond with this exploration that I'm in at the moment around compassion, which is what brought it to mind to talk about today, is that there's this question that she encourages you to ask, and that is, what is my equivalent? And Bruce and I were going somewhere the other day, and we'd set off, and just before we set off, we'd found all this McDonald's food wrappings in the bin, and clearly Sophie and her boyfriend had been eating McDonald's, and we had a little rant about beige food and stuff like that. And then I did say, what is my equivalent? What is my equivalent? Well, when I was her age, I had bulimia, and I used to eat rubbish food and then throw it back up again. So that really wasn't very, and then we continued with the conversation, and we went through so many different parts of life that Bruce and I, so we were driving, so obviously there were things happening on the road, and Bruce was having his, what are they doing that for? And I'd be like, what's your equivalent? All the journey, we were both doing it we're both having this, we're both kind of seeing it everywhere. And that question just puts you in a completely different place, because, and it isn't what's the same, because if you ask the same, you won't find it. You have to say equivalent. And we couldn't find a single thing where we didn't have an equivalent. We even got to talking about murder. And clearly, listeners, I've never murdered anybody, a human being. However, wasps have had the brunt of my anger. Have I expressed myself in an angry way towards another person? Have I plotted and schemed against another person? Have I done all of these little things that come together when somebody takes the life of another person? Well, yeah, of course I have. Have I lost my rag with people? Have I felt that level of anger? Of course I have. You cannot, when you ask that question, you cannot not see an equivalent. It's so transformational, and that's created a very different experience of so many things for me. Even people who live dog poo on the pavement, it's even that's one of my pet peeves, is people leaving. But every little pet peeve you have, you ask that question, you cannot find. You can always find an equivalent, always. Yes. And it's very different. It feels very different in my body, and I think that's always a good sign. It feels immediately much more settling, and it allows me to not be in the psychoanalysis of another person, which is what if their thinking's causing it, well, let's just have a little chat about their thinking. What happened to them when they were a child then? And their conditioning and all of that used to make me, used to fill my head up. And now it comes back to me again. It comes back to, how am I creating this experience? What's my equivalent is back. Because people out there are not really any of my business in that regard, really. They're not. It's about my experience and how it's been created, and that's there's much more relief from that, I think, than it's their thinking and they're doing the best they can with it kind of thing. So that's my little journey with that at the moment, which is fun.
It puts a stop. It just clears, it chops it off. I use the phrase, where am I that? Whenever, because it always looks like a judgment, right? And it does. It's like it stops you in your tracks, because we are all just the same. And I think we've had a conversation similar to this before about that. You see, what we judge, what we make meaning of in others, it's because we recognize it. We recognize it in some way in ourselves. So there is always what's my equivalent, or where am I that? Where do I do that? And you're right. There is always something, and it just stops it. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It brings a curiosity, I think. Do you not think it kind of brings a curiosity up? Rather than and then it's an internal curiosity rather than an external, what are they doing kind of thing.
It's, to me, it kind of brings up absolutely an awareness, and it like just sort of a settling. Getting worked up about something is like, it's just like that, or the same. Oh, but yes, and then what? Anytime we become more aware of ourselves, right? It's taking this spotlight that we've shone into the eye, whether the other can see it or not, but we're shining it into the face of the other and pointing our fingers, whether they are aware of it or not. And it's turning it around. It like allows you to see you. That's where that awareness, that, you know, that is just raising your consciousness of yourself. Right? Once you know more about you, you can be more of the you who you are naturally are, where compassion lives, you know? It's like, oh, it sort of wipes out a lot of chatter and noise and allows space for, you know, your own inner guidance, that kind nature to gives it space to flow, to show up.
I like what you said about the spotlight. I like that. Yeah, the spotlight when I was ranting and upset with everybody else's behaviour was definitely on them. I mean, not just one. It's like, you know, this like a sports ground on a night. It's like that. It's all about them, you know. But then, yeah, there's a gentler feeling to that spotlight. And I think it's key to do that. Like if we're thinking about the listeners all going off and asking themselves this question and then feeling really bad about, that's not what we're saying. We're not saying go off and feel terrible about yourself because you go, what's my equivalent, and go, oh my God, I'm an awful person. It's not about that. It's much more about seeing that we're all just doing the best with this human shenanigans, shall we call it?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, crackers most of the time. And you know, I think it's much more, like you said, it's just much more about settling into love, really, into peace, into kindness, into oh yeah, me too, you know, like me too, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think the irony of it is that the more you go there, the less you actually see these things in the external world. It's almost like they seem to disappear.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is like the opposite of what you've been told, because we've all been told, like, rally against the stuff you don't like and fight it and push against it, and then it will go away. And of course that just doesn't work. You just see more and more, whether it's something that you don't like in yourself or something you don't like in somebody else, you focus on that thing and you just get more of it.
Yeah, you get what you're looking for. And I just had a thought here. This is one of those where, you know, maybe at times wisdom does have you look at those things in just the right moment, so that then they hear this podcast, and then the next time that they judge someone, it's like, oh, wow, this is what Clare and Michaela were talking about. Where it's like, we're all equal. This whole thing about wisdom guiding us, sometimes I think wisdom guides us so that we can see. It's like, right? Because if we wouldn't have had this conversation, well, I know we've talked about something like this before, and it does bring more awareness into where looking back at yourself. So,
Yeah, definitely. It's magical.
That's good.
I feel like we're complete.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
and I guess the only thing to say is, just for the listeners, this is all an experiment. It's all about taking it into your life and seeing what you can see about it. And if you want to let us know about that, please do. We'd love to hear from you, wouldn't we? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely about taking it away and experimenting with it. Don't take our word for it, is what we're saying.
Yes. We're all living a grand experiment.
We are.
Right?
Bless us one and all. Definitely.
Thank you, Claire.
Oh, thank you, Michaela. That was lovely. I shall see you next time.
You bet. Ciao.
Take care. Bye.